Hello and welcome to Center Stage, a series brought to you by the Workbook, spotlighting the most innovative people and technologies shaping the future of film and television. I'm your host, Trevar Fox, and today I'm joined by Karen Lamb, film director, writer, producer, and president of Black Opiate Entertainment, Inc. I need to know, right off the bat,
Yes.
What were your favorite films growing up?
My first film that I saw was Jaws. So
Whoa, really? That's
yeah.
number one?
Yeah, well, my dad took me there, and he again there's a thought where I had asked why did he take me to Jaws, and he said you like fish. So
Right, naturally, yes.
Naturally.
That's a good correlation.
Yes.
Yeah, smart on his part.
yeah, and so I think that growing up, I think I always liked horror films. I always liked scary things that made me not want to sleep.
Okay, really, even at a very young age.
Yeah, there was one film I remember going to, I actually went to Hong Kong and my aunts all got to see, and I never got to see because they went to see Cannibal Holocaust. And I remember begging to see this, and they came back and my aunt threw up. So I knew that
you're like,
it was
I
a
want
thing.
that.
Exactly,
Give
and
me
I was
that.
so bummed that I wasn't able to go to that. So I knew there's something like wired in my head. that
Okay, this
said-
is on my list now, Cannibal Holocaust. I need to go watch this tonight.
Exactly.
Yeah, it's
I think it might be campy now, but at the
Yeah, that's
time
right.
it was just like I that was the forbidden fruit, and I wanted that one.
So the campiness is like a huge draw for you.
Well, now it is. But I think at the time I would have believed it. And I think that at the time, I grew up with a lot of stories about cannibals. My dad seemed very, he was a big influence in my life. And a lot of the fairy tales that he told me ended up with cannibalism. So
Whoa.
he would tell me like Robinson Crusoe and his boy Friday were eaten by the cannibals on the other side of the island. And I would not read Robinson Crusoe because I thought there's cannibals on that island. So
Yeah.
yeah.
Who are your favorite directors from back then?
I think that my favorite films, I think I really hit the Asian horror parts. And so for me, my favorite horror directors, like I love the Pang brothers, I love Takeshi Miike, and I love like Audition.
Beat
and-
Takeshi.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
And I loved his movies as well. Beat
Yeah.
Takeshi, and I remember just there's some Korean directors that I've always enjoyed as well because there's the serial killers. They do I like serial killers. I like I very much like serial killers.
Cool.
I like and I like paranormal. I love ghost stories. I love hauntings like The Grudge, and I love like the original Ju-on. I love
Oh my God,
the
terrifying.
Ringu. I love that sense of the paranormal.
Yeah, there's like very creepy elements in the Japanese horror that I feel like North American stuff doesn't necessarily really, they try and do the remakes, but it doesn't really hit the same.
I think so. There's something in the camera work, there's something in the storytelling, and there's something unsettling in how the stories are told. There's, I think in North America, we're always trying to explain things. And there's, horror to me is the unexplainable, and there's something unknowable. And I also think that we sometimes work with story structure where we make it seem safer, because once it's in that 3-act story structure, we kind of know where it's going. Whereas if you watch something like Ju-on, it's like 7 random stories, you know what I mean? And
Right.
you don't know where, and it just, yeah, I think that that's what is really compelling.
Interesting. Yeah, there's they really hit the psychological stuff as well. Like it really works its way into your psyche in a way that North American films don't. Like the film Audition
Oh yeah.
is like one of the scariest things I've ever seen in my life.
I
It's-
thought it was a dark comedy. Is that wrong?
Right,
Because,
right.
when the phone is ringing and she just smiles and then the burlap sack just bounces, you're like,
Oh,
oh yeah,
so creepy.
that's so good.
Oh, right.
And I love the idea that I think for me, it's not just random things and terrible things happening to people. In like most Asian horror, you kind of asked for it. There's a karmic,
Right.
choice that
Yeah,
happened.
you get what you deserve.
Yes.
Yes.
Like the protagonist, he sets up this audition. He picked the girl. He had normal girls to pick from. He picked the one that looked the most demure. You know
Right.
what I
He's
mean?
trying to find a wife. It's like, come on, what are you doing,
It's a
bud?
little creepy what
Yeah.
he did. So you feel bad, but
Good
not
point.
really.
Yeah.
So that's what to me was the dark comedy of it all.
I like that.
Yeah.
Do you like to incorporate the comedic elements into your film, or do you like to just kind of saturate the audience in the fearful state?
I think until recently, people thought I was quite dour. And so I never had the mix of comedy. I saw things as comedic, but then I'd watch it with an audience and nobody laughs, and you're like, oh, I saw how
Right.
felt. You know what I mean? Like,
Right.
because what I thought was the way that I thought Audition was funny, nobody else thought it was funny.
Right. I definitely did
Yeah,
not. So
see,
so there you go. That's
this
perfect.
could be my sense of humor. And so with a horror audience, what I find is that when my films play to I guess the converted, there's a lot of laughter. People get the humor that I'm
Right.
trying for.
Yeah.
But I think that for for conventional audiences, they may not find it as funny. I think the first time I have a couple of horror comedies. I did a short film called The Meeting, which was an AA group for serial killers.
Oh,
And so that one was more of a dark comedy.
yes.
And then I was hired by NBC Universal to do the 7th installment of Bring It On. And because it was for a 13-year-old crowd, like basically, I saw it as a gateway drug for horror for teen girls.
Right, yeah, here, yeah, watch this,
So,
and then we'll talk. Yeah,
exactly.
yeah.
And that one was naturally comedic and funny. And then actually until my latest feature, Armageddon Road, I wasn't really thinking dark comedy, but I do actually love the Coen brothers. They're amongst my favorite filmmakers.
Oh my God,
So
they're so great.
that's it. Even blood, like starting from Blood Simple, even.
That's my favorite. Oh, actually, Blood Simple's great. I thought you were saying Miller's Crossing, which is my favorite.
Beautiful
It's my favorite film
Yeah.
of theirs.
Less funny.
It's less, right.
Yes, Miller's Crossing is a little more serious, but even Blood Simple, I love just where they started from. You know, I love seeing it's like seeing the origin stories of a comic book hero, you know.
Right.
Seeing where a filmmaker starts is sort of where I like going.
And young Frances McDormand as well is incredible in that film.
Wonderful.
It's cool to see like them working together. I didn't see that film until much later, so
Yes.
it's really cool to be like, oh wow, I didn't know they had such a history. I thought it started with Fargo for them.
Yes, and I actually gave a talk on it, and I had to do some research in it. That was literally. It was supposed to go to Holly Hunter, that role. And Holly Hunter, I think, and Frances McDormand were roommates. And Frances McDormand ended up getting the role.
Oh my
And
God.
she'd been a stage actor, and so she was terrified of overacting. So she spent a lot of time with her mouth sort of half open, because that was the look that she was like, okay, I'm just not going to do anything.
Right.
So it's wonderful. And just, I think, you know, in an interview that I watched with her, what I thought was amazing was that how much she learns from being basically married to one of the Coens, you know, and how involved they are with the writing, directing, editing. And she always said that feature films are an editor's medium. You're literally creating the story in the edit suite in a way that, you know, I would say that stage is probably for actors. That's where actors get to shine. And in TV, I really think of it as a writer's medium where your words are everything. But in feature films, I really think of it as directing and editing. You're really crafting that story in the edit suite.
Do you like to have a role in the editing as well? Are you in the editing room you're doing everything?
Yeah.
Okay.
I've been working with my longtime editor, Jeannie Slater, for years and years. But yes, I think that when I think of production, I think of it as an iceberg. What we think of as production is just that little tip. And with the time I spend in post-production is pretty well 90% of the filmmaking. So,
Oh wow, that's incredible.
yeah.
You started your career as an entertainment lawyer and as a producer, then decided to put on the directing and writing hats.
Yes.
How did you find that process? Was that something that you always wanted to do? Was it difficult to kind of transition? I imagine you're using different hemispheres of your brain basically with each.
I think so. I would say I've always called my career like failing upward. And so I think that when I was, I didn't start off wanting to be a lawyer. I really was a classical musician who realized that I didn't have the tenacity or the drive to really be I had the ability, but none of the skills that, you know, would drive me forward in that. And I ended up going into fashion design after my first degree.
Oh, wow.
And I also realized that this was not the industry for me and panicked and got into law. So see, this is already, oh no, where have you gone?
Right.
And then when I was actually in law, once I graduated, I was in insurance law. And you know, I was articling at the firm, and I thought, okay, sewage breakages is going to be my future. And I didn't get kept on at the firm, so I panicked again, and I was like, I love film. I love the film industry. And so I started interviewing producers and other entertainment lawyers.
Cool.
And I took a class with Sharon McGowan, and it was with Cineworks at that time. And she basically said, this is your path. You should be here. Like, I didn't know anything about producing. This is your path, she said. You know how to pitch. You know how to tell a story.
Wow.
This is part of it. And I went to BC Film, which is now Creative BC, and they created an internship for me, and I ended up working there. And I helped put together the tax credit program, so that says that I'm ancient, because that the tax credit program has
I'm not going to ask what year that was.
Oh dear God,
Yeah,
yes, it's been quite a while.
Yeah, cool.
And yeah, so I basically was going to be a producer. I thought that's really comfortable. And then one year, every project that I had been producing imploded. And I thought, okay, I'm going to have to find a job.
Mm.
I applied to the National Screen Institute Drama Prize. It was a short film program. And as I was literally in an interview with Telefilm to go back into business affairs and to be a program analyst,
Yeah.
I got a call from my producer. She kept texting me and she goes, we got into the NSI Drama Prize. And so we were one of 5 projects that got funded across Canada. And I thought that was like an intervention from like divine intervention.
Yeah,
So
really was.
and yeah, and so it's basically been writing and directing ever since. And I was panicking the whole time. I was like, I'm not equipped for this. I thought I'll learn enough about writing and directing so I can go back to being a better producer.
Oh,
I
wow.
never went back to being full-time producing. I mean, I produce my films, but it really is now just writing and directing
So that's it for now. I mean, for forever.
until I fail badly at this. And
Okay,
yeah.
and then you're like,
Yeah,
you-
but don't worry, I'll never be in front of the camera. There's
No?
no drive there. No,
you're
no.
not going to Tarantino yourself into your
God,
films.
no. It's like how to ruin a scene, putting me in it.
Yeah,
As I
right.
stare at the,
Yeah, right.
very bad.
Yeah, cool. Yeah, that's smart. Yeah, it's good to know your strengths, obviously.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
No.
Play to those. Yeah.
And I play to your weakness. That's pretty well,
Yeah,
right?
right. Your weakness. Yeah, but failing upwards, I love that. That's really like, it's like life pulls you where you're supposed to be, right?
I think so. I think
Yeah.
that you have to listen to the forces that are out there, and they kind of give you a, like at some point you're banging your head against the wall, is not opening. Maybe there's another door, and so that's sort of how I look at everything.
Right. I'm
Yeah.
trying to tell you something.
Yeah, like very loudly. And I think that the universe whispers, and at some point it becomes a really loud Balpinheimer up the head. So you need to change.
I like that. That's a good analogy. Yeah. How would you describe the films that you make? What do you like? Do you like to tell people that they're horror films? Or obviously there's so many subcategories within that genre. How do you describe the films that you
It's
like
so
to make?
funny. I had one of my friends in the industry, Kelly Michael Stewart from Blood in the Snow, once told me that for someone who is known as a horror director, I've yet to actually make a horror film.
Mm,
So
interesting.
it's interesting because I've always been a little adjacent to it. I have always a fantastical element to it. There's always a genre in it. I think of myself more as a fantastic filmmaker. So it means, at least on the worldwide stage of things, it means there's a little sci-fi, there's a little horror, there's a little fantasy,
Great.
there is paranormal, there's many things in it.
Yeah.
But I don't consider myself a straight ahead horror director.
Right. of
Even
course.
though it's easiest. As a shorthand, I say I'm a horror director
Yeah.
because I obviously love the genre.
Yes.
But I think it incorporates other things in it.
That's great though, like kind of bringing all the different elements of who you are to the table rather than just sort of like a clean cut, cookie cutter
Yeah,
horror film.
I think so. Like, I mean, it brings in my worldview where I really do think that there's paranormal things that happen, and I really do think that there's magic, and I really do think that surreal things will happen to you. So, and I don't pass by a garbage can without thinking my head could be in it. Like there's some elements that are there. So,
Oh, okay. That just reminded me of the end of the movie Seven there.
Yeah.
What's in the box?
this is my head.
It's my head. It's my head.
I've watched enough true crime to know what happens.
Right.
I do not want to light up a room in any way, shape, or form.
No, right, exactly. Just play the background a little bit.
Exactly.
Yeah, you're safer there.
Exactly.
Yeah, smart.
Yeah.
I like that. So what terrifies you the most? And on the flip side, what motivates you? What is it that you want to be saying with your films?
Oh, yeah. I think that the most terrifying thing I can think of is the forces that we can't see, the dark forces that are there. And I do think that they're there. I mean, we're seeing it more and more as things go. And I would hate to be possessed. That's one of those things. I would hate to be sucked into some sort of dark abyss. I would hate, like, those are the things that frighten me the most.
Oh, yeah.
It's not going somewhere and having my organs harvested. It's more, I'm in my room and things come through the wall. And
Oh, yeah. Well, that's terrifying.
mean?
Oh,
Like,
when you put it like that.
you're at home, you're comfortable, Cenobites come through. Like that is
Yeah.
probably more horrifying to me than, was I really supposed to be in those ruins in Mexico? Probably not.
Yeah, probably. Yeah, that's your fault. That's on
Yeah,
you there.
that's on me.
Yeah,
I did that.
you're
Yeah.
right. When you're in your room, you're minding your own business. Like, yeah, like,
I didn't ask for this.
yeah, it's
It's
less
so-
comedic then.
Yeah.
Yeah, right. Do you have any feedback or advice for anybody that wants to break into the industry? Anyone that's wanting to be a writer or director or anything like that?
I think you really should have some sort of North Star as far as what you think is good, because you're going to get a lot of feedback from people who are telling you, you should be this, you should brand yourself in this way. This is what I see in your work.
Right.
Really, if you don't have that compass for what kind of stories you want to tell, who you want to be, the stories that resonate with you, then you're going out there trying to fit into someone else's mold.
Right. You don't ever want for anything, not just for film, but I mean, music or art or anything. It's like, tell your story,
Exactly.
bring
Like,
yourself to the table.
I think that any artist working the way that we do, if we don't bring ourselves and our authentic selves to that, what are they hiring? What are we watching? You know, I just feel like we're all trying to be something else. And I think that it's at this stage, you know, the only thing we have to bring to the table is who we are.
Right, because no one could do that better than us.
Yeah.
Have you had a mentor or a figure that's helped shape your approach to writing, directing, and producing?
Yeah, actually she's local, and it's Rachel Talalay from Tank Girl, from, you know, she's a director, she's a producer, she is probably one of my biggest North Stars when it comes to being outside of my own inner self. And she's always encouraged me to be your weird self. She's always,
Oh, that's so great.
it's amazing.
We need to hear that more, I think.
I think so. Lean into, like, what is it? Lean into the weird. I really think sometimes when we're showing our work to other people, I'm always cautious of people trying to make things too clear.
Right.
What our genre does not work well with is, why did that happen? Like, there's a certain amount of balancing clarity and also just saying, you know what, the cinematic experience is much more than just being really, you know, obvious about it. You can actually take the magic away from the storytelling if it's too much there. And so, yeah.
I think that's the same for any kind of art. You sometimes like just splash the canvas and let people have their own interpretations of what that means.
Yeah. I wish I could do more of what David Lynch did, which was he never explained anything.
Right. I was always so confused after every.
And it was
films.
wonderful. Like, you know, and you can watch it again and again. Like, you know, I remember the first time seeing Eraserhead, and I was in high school at the time. And all of a sudden there's raining. What are those sperm? Like, why what's happening?
What is this metaphor here? What is this saying?
I really think that shaped how I think to this day that I want to tell stories, where it's how much information do you want to give the audience, and how much should they be bringing to it, and how much do we want to, it's supposed to be a dialogue between you, the filmmaker, and the audience out there. And if you're feeding like all your ideas out there, you know what I mean? Like, where did they come forward and also say, well, no, I didn't see your film that way at all. I saw it in this way.
Right. So
why are they right? Or why am I right? You know,
it's all subjective in that sense. You know, like everyone kind of sees something different.
Yeah.
Kind of draws upon their own experiences. And yeah. Wow, I love that.
That to me is what storytelling is supposed to be. It's about you maybe shaping a story, but then the audience gets to bring in their own interpretations and their own way of looking at it. And I think every interpretation is just as valid as anything else.
Yeah, and things don't have to necessarily be tied up with a pretty little bow and explained and
Yeah, I'd rather someone watch my film 6 times than 6 different people watch it only once.
Yeah, right. That's a good point, because every time they watch it, then they're going to be picking up new stuff as well.
Yeah, I'd rather that audience member that's really like, I really needed to see it again, as compared to 6 people, random people going, meh.
Yeah.
That's fine. You know, I'd rather that person, like the really hardcore person, saying like, okay, this thing, you annoyed me, you entertained me, but also what the hell, you know?
Yeah, you challenged me, which is, that's great. Yeah, that's how, like, in terms of like music, it's like I want people to be hitting rewind, playing it again. I don't want them to be like, skip.
Or, I liked it. That's fine.
You're right.
Oh,
right. Yeah, that's true. Yeah.
I liked it. It's got a good beat.
Yeah, right. Yeah. Yeah, I'd rather you hated it rather than we're just like,
My favorite films are all like that. They're all in the 50 tomato rating, because there's people either at 10 or at 90, and there's nothing in between.
Oh, wow.
I really love that.
I love that perspective.
Yeah, because it's like, okay, I had strong feelings about this, and I think that's something that we're, like, you know, what I'd like to do as a filmmaker is to be, let me aim for 50 in Rotten Tomatoes. But really, it's about saying, like, the people who love it, and the people who don't get it, well, it's not for everyone.
I think in this world, I mean, a lot of people are like, I won't even watch it if it's less than 95%. And like that kind of stuff, it's like, oh, you're really limiting your possibilities, and you may love something just because other people don't like it. I mean, that's kind of like the fault, like the problem with Rotten Tomatoes.
I think so too. And I really do think that for all us misfits in the world, because only misfits end up in genre, I really do think that it's about the idea that, well, I like this thing. Like, what happened to that? When we were, I think in analog days, before it went to digital, everything was like, you found this weird cassette. You found the David Lynch, you know, Eraserhead in that bargain bin in your hometown. And you're like, what is this? You know, I remember finding the Cramps' Bad Music for bad people in a discount bin. And I was like, I think I was the only Cramps fan in my high school. And I was
Oh,
like,
wow.
oh my God, I played it over and over again. And that was my album. And I think
I miss
that's what I
those
miss.
days.
I know,
The
right?
tangibility of it and finding like being able to like read the liner notes and like it's like you're listening to it. It's like a tangible experience.
Yeah,
Looking
and
at the
you
artwork.
discovered it.
It's
Like,
yeah.
how do we do that again now in this day and age where everything is just on your streaming service and you click through it and you know if that art didn't get you then whatever.
Mhm.
Whereas you used to go to like whether it's a video store or you know some weird midnight screening and you got to see for the first time John Waters' Female Trouble and you're like, oh my God, what happened with the umbilical cord? Did he really do, you know what I mean, like that?
Yeah.
Where's our divine? Where is that counterculture sort of thing where everything's just always available?
Right.
Yeah, I know.
Yeah,
Sorry.
we've something like lost some of the magic with the new technology.
I think so.
Yeah, streaming's boring.
Yeah, sorry, did I say that out loud?
It's true though. We both agree on that.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I think that what I'd like to do is actually have experiences where you have to go like a Rocky Horror Picture Show, where you literally have to dress up, get involved, do the dances, and go on repeat viewing. Like it's actually supposed to be an event. It's not supposed to be just something that you sit back and flip through while being on your phone. It really
Right.
should be an engagement.
Do you think the horror genre allows you to explore themes or ideas that other genres can't reach as effectively?
I think so. I think we have I tend to do, I guess, what they call elevated horror because most of my horror is in it, like whether it's a metaphor for something else or I'm talking about, bigger social justice themes or ideas that really are hitting me.
Mhm.
And in the horror genre, you can kind of like, Godzilla really was a look at nuclear war, right?
Right.
So
Response to Hiroshima.
yes,
Yeah,
absolutely. And
yeah.
so I think of a lot of those so most of my horror has a little bit of that. Like otherwise it's cod liver oil and who wants to eat that?
Yeah, right. Yeah, no, not me. No. Um, so Jordan Peele says that the difference between horror and comedy is the music. And it's like kind of like very like similar, like it's a lot about the tension and release.
That tension and release is either going to come out with a laugh or a scream. If I'm in a horror audience, then they tend to laugh. But if it's, with a conventional one, it's usually like a gasp or a suck in. Or
Right.
sometimes I think I was next to someone watching my film. I did a short film. It's a dental horror called Mrs. Chang's Perfect Teeth.
Right.
And the person next to me said, "Oh God," and laughed. And I thought, victory. Like,
Right. Score. Success. Yeah, nice.
if you can get a visceral response, it's kind of great.
In 2020, you released your film, The Curse of Willow Song, which was your first feature with an almost entirely Asian cast.
Yes.
Telling a story shining a light on sociopolitical issues like systemic racism and marginalization and social inequality, also tied in with a supernatural sort of dreamlike element. What has this film taught you about your identity and also about the kinds of stories that you want to tell in the future?
Oh, that's interesting. Curse of Willow Song was the first time I actually told a story in the Asian culture. I grew up in Brandon, Manitoba, so I always feel my relationship with being Chinese, and it's a little bit like I have imposter syndrome when it comes to that because I was basically raised as basic, kind of like a white prairie dude. So when it comes to my identity and being like when I moved from Brandon to Vancouver, I think that I was hit with this Chinese culture that I felt sort of alienated from because I was taught my whole life to basically assimilate. So as far as I was concerned, I was Mennonite. So it was really, so to tell the story was almost, it was like going into roots that I didn't realize that I was a little uncomfortable with. And so, but it was really wonderful working in those ways. I don't know whether or not every film will be in that sort of zone, but it did open up this idea. And so again, apart from that one, and then Mrs. Chang's Perfect Teeth, which I directed in Mandarin, which I don't speak. That was the two films that really, fall into that into the Asian community.
That sounds like a super challenging undertaking to the actors were speaking Mandarin
Yes.
and you didn't.
No.
Okay. Did you have a translator kind of like?
No. What happened with it was that I wrote the script in English, and then I had everyone do, and I actually, one of the few times I actually used a casting director, and it was Kristen Cara. And
Nice.
I told everybody to do an English audition based on the script, and then whatever dialect they spoke, just to do it that way. And I love, my influence for that is Wong Kar-wai. He always, whatever the actors speak as far as the dialect, That's what he does. You don't
Wow.
have to, not everyone has to speak Cantonese. I speak Cantonese.
Okay.
You don't have to speak Cantonese, Mandarin, whatever's comfortable for you.
Right.
And what I really found, which is fascinating
Mhm.
as an experiment, was that the actors' performances changed based on their native language.
Right, of
So
course.
if you were like a banana like me, which is, yellow on the outside and white on the inside, as they
Yeah.
say,
Right.
those actors, the English was basically their strongest performance. But when you had English as a second language, it was really interesting to see the nuances that came out when they just did it in like, I wasn't strict about the script.
Right.
So however they wanted to work with the dialogue, they did. And so, yeah.
It's interesting how that kind of has an effect on the body and like the way the vocal patterns and how that translates into the performance.
Absolutely. It
Yeah.
was so interesting just to see that the body language changed, just the levels of emotion, and the delivery was so different in each case. And some actors actually did it in English, Cantonese, and Mandarin, and it changed from dialect to dialect and language to
Wow.
language. So
Another director that did that a lot was Sergio Leone, who did the spaghetti westerns.
absolutely.
Yes.
Which is which is what I ripped off for the ending of Armageddon Road. So
Oh, really?
those shots are as
Oh.
Leone as I can get, spaghetti western, short
Love
of
it.
having the full, the full western theme. But yes,
Nice.
the that sort of those extreme close-ups and the going back and forth of
I love
things.
that.
Yeah.
I'm a huge fan.
Yeah.
That's awesome. Nicely done.
Yes, stealing left, right, and center like a magpie.
That's what you have to do. I mean, that's what they say. The greats steal.
Yeah.
Like,
Paying homage, that's the word.
yeah.
Paying homage.
Right.
That's
Yeah.
good.
Yeah. Exactly. That's a nice euphemism. for it.
Plagiarizing, yes.
Yeah. No.
yes.
No. It's cool.
Yes.
Yeah. That's what we all do.
Yeah.
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 That's what art should be.
I think so.
So-
We're taking influences and putting into them through the lens, the stew of, each of us. That's how I look at
Oh,
it.
that's nice. I like that. The stew. Yes, I like that. That's nice.
Let it get filtered through the stew. Yeah.
Right. Oh, yeah. Filter through the stew. I like
Yeah.
that. So representation in film has become a big conversation. How do you approach inclusion in your casting and storytelling?
I think what's really important, it's funny because I did, I was hired by the National Film Board to do a short tribute to Sandra Oh when she received the Governor General's Arts Award.
Mhm.
And it was all like her real drive was about representation. So I did a film, what would it look like? And this is in 2018, 2019.
Mhm.
And so it was, how would films look if we took some of our favorite films and used a diverse cast instead?
Yeah.
And that was, quite unsettling at the time. I remember, because when it played in Ottawa, I had a few people say, "Why did you make your film so political?"
Yeah.
But it was just a matter of looking at how diversity on screen would affect things.
Right.
Fast forward to 2024, and I think that it's a little bit nuanced, more nuanced how I look at it. For a while there, we were saying, well, we should be racially and ethnically blind to our casting.
Right.
And now what I think is more important too is that we're true to the stories.
Yes.
That we're not just throwing in someone, and saying, well, ignore race. It's sort of like saying to someone, I don't see color.
Right.
Rather than acknowledging the real historical context for what was there. So I think about like my current feature film, Armageddon Road, I used 2 leading Caucasian actors.
Yes.
But it's because the main storyline is that it's an ex-con who basically gets out early, and he's working for the mob, and he's driving basically the mob boss's girlfriend, who's a prostitute, basically in his back car.
Mm-hmm.
And I had questions as to whether I would cast diversely, and I thought to myself, that's actually it's a loaded question in some ways, because it's set in the 1970s.
Yeah.
Would a black inmate be released early
Right.
for manslaughter?
It wouldn't make sense.
It wouldn't make any sense.
Yeah.
And would he be able to, basically be able to get away with the things that he did? That is, in some ways, I would say almost irresponsible of me as a filmmaker if I was to have done that.
Right.
If the prostitute herself were, say, black, or, would the police have pulled them over more often? You know what I mean?
Exactly.
Like what? So the reality is what I'm now looking at, which is it would be in some ways more like, as much as you want to basically be representing on screen, I want to be representing responsibly as well.
Absolutely. That makes a lot of sense. What are your thoughts on AI in filmmaking? Is there a way of using it ethically, or do you think that it's a detriment to the art form?
I think that there's a lot of AI that's now built into things like our post-production programs and that. My big thing with AI is that if it isn't taking away someone's job, It's really, and if it's actually assisting my team do the best things that they possibly can.
Yeah.
I would never want AI to replace my performers or
Right.
anyone, basically. But on the other hand, if it's just a tool that, is allowing my team to do better work with what they have.
Make it easier for them to do what they're here to do.
Exactly.
Yeah.
That would be it. Rather than, again, it's if used responsibly, it should be a tool. It should not be actually replacing any of us.
I agree with that. Absolutely. What is next for Karen Lamb? Do you have anything else exciting coming down the pipeline that we're able to look forward to?
Well, my feature film Armageddon Road is just getting finished, and so it's about to launch into the world. We are having our inaugural, I'd call it like the cruise line, champagne sailing at the Vancouver Horror Show coming up on October 17th. And
Nice.
so Boogie Party, speaking of eventizing it, I want this film to actually get like it should basically be something that we watch together and
Yeah.
maybe with psychedelics. I'm not sure. I haven't decided whether, we're going to be
Oh,
doing that.
definitely psychedelics. It's a great idea.
And there's that. And then with my company, Black Opiate, with Kate Kroll, we're looking at a small slate of, basically, I'm looking at more grindhouse sort of horror. And so things that we can do with a smaller budget, but that actually, hopefully we can do locally with people that we believe in, and it's our team, and we do them back to back. That's my thinking.
I love it. That's great.
Yeah.
Oh, thank you so much for meeting with me today. It's been a pleasure talking to you.
Thank you for having me.
Yeah. Okay, that's all the time we have for today. Thanks so much for tuning in. We'll catch you on the next episode of Center Stage.